Okay, good evening, everyone, and we're holding back here in the weekly Parsha, and this is PARSHAS BEHAR. When the whole beginning of the Parsha, actually much of the Parsha, revolves around the mitzvah of Shemitah. Shemitah, as we know, is that in the 7th year, a person has to let the land lay fallow, they're not allowed to work the land. We're relying on the crops of the 6th year to provide for the 6th year, the 7th year, and the 8th year, until finally we can start planting and begin growing once again. So as in every single mitzvah that we have in the Torah, every mitzvah is given to Klal Yisrael to connect ourselves with Hashem. And in order to make the real connection, you have to try to understand on some level, what was the tafkid, what was the purpose that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave this certain mitzvah? What did Hashem want me to get out of that mitzvah? What did He want me to learn from it? What's the panemius? What is the more inner workings of that mitzvah, in order that we should have a real connection with the mitzvah itself, and through that we have a real connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Sefer HaChinuch has 3 different reasons why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the mitzvah of Shemitah, of letting the land lay fallow in Eretz Yisrael in the 7th year, of not working the fields, of being mafkir, of making everything ownerless. The poor can come in, take what they would like, nothing belongs to you, you're ownerless, and relying on bumper crops and relying on extra things to grow so that you'll be able to survive. And he writes in his 3rd and final reason of why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the mitzvah of Shemitah, v'oid yesh to'eles acher. There's another benefit that a person will get from keeping the halachas and the laws of Shemitah. Nimsav is adam, that the benefit will be found in such a person who abides by this mitzvah. Sheyosef ha'adam bitachon b'Hashem baruch hu. This person is going to increase. It's going to be added into this person bitachon, which loosely in English is translated as trust, that this person will trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu even more. Because anybody who can find it in his heart to relinquish all of his rights in to this world, which means the land doesn't belong to me anymore. All the produce of his land, and the ancestral inheritance of his fathers, that's going to grow throughout the entire year. Nothing will belong to him. He's going to be like this. His family's going to be like this. Everyone in his house, in his farm, they're all going to be living in the same exact way for that year. He'll never have the trait of being a miser, because he's so used to just giving and giving and giving. He certainly will not have this trait of being stingy, and he will never lack bitachon after such a year like this. Bitachon is, as we're going to see tonight, this that a person relies completely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that whatever it is that he needs in his life, it's going to be taken care of. Whether I lift a finger or I don't lift a finger, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of everything that we have. The mitzvah of Shemitah is coming to inculcate inside of the panemius, the neshama of a Jew, that I have nothing at all to worry about. I don't have to worry about paying the bills. I don't have to worry about putting food on the table. I don't have to worry about making a chasana. I don't have to worry about anything, because the Ribbono Shel Olam takes care of everything. That is called bitachon. That is the trust or the reliance that a person has on Hashem. There is a famous question that many people ask, and that is, what is the difference between amunah and bitachon? What does it mean, amunah, to believe in Hashem? And what does it mean, bitachon, to trust in Hashem? So there's a sefer called Amunah veBitachon. Yeah? Good name for a sefer. Written by the Ramban, Nachmanides. And he opens up really with this question of trying to discern and make a distinction between amun and bitachon. And he says over the following, he says like this, ha'amun v'bitachon, belief in Hashem and trusting in Hashem, shnei inyanim are two seemingly separate things. Sha'echad tzarich lechaveroi, one of them requires the other, ve'ein chaver tzarich lo, but the other one does not require the other thing. She'amuna kaidemes libitachon u'miskayemes b'leiv ha'maymin. Amuna, believing in Hashem, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. Hashem created the world. He's watching over me. He's involved in my life. He knows every single detail. Nothing is happening unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu would will it. That's the starting point. And it's miskayim. It exists in the leiv, in the heart of a maimin, someone who believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Aval pi she'ena bitachon ima ve'ena tzricha le'bikiyuma. And even if you have if you have this amuna, it's not a raya, it's no proof that you're going to have something called bitachon, that you trust in Hashem. Ulefikach eino imara alav, therefore the fact that you are a maimin, that you believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that means Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that took me out of Mitzrayim, and all that's included in that. There's no proof that in your life you're going to reach the next stage, which is called bitachon, that I trust in Hashem, that I rely upon HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I believe in Hashem. Who in this room doesn't believe in Hashem? But is a person holding on the level of relying on Hashem? That's a different story. Aval bitachon, if a person has bitachon, they trust, they rely upon Hashem. It proves about the person. It proves that this person must have amuna, because without amuna, without belief in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you can never come into the world of bitachon, into trusting in Hashem. Anyone who believes, anyone who trusts in Hashem is called a maimin, a believer. But not everyone that believes in Hashem is called a beiteach, is called someone that trusts and relies on Hashem. It says the Ramban in his opening words over here that there are two parts of our world of faith with Hashem. The starting point is emunah. You got to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's interesting. Bitachon is not in the Ten Commandments. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, you have to believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is master of the universe. That is in the Ten Commandments. There should be no foreign gods in front of Hashem, and you can't bow down to idols. That is in the Ten Commandments. But bitachon, that I trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that everything I have in my life is I have nothing to worry about because Hashem's going to take care of everything. That's not really in the Ten Commandments. And therefore says the Ramban, you could believe in Hashem and not have bitachon. But if you have bitachon, it must mean that you actually are a maimin, you believe in Hashem as well. And he says over a very beautiful mashal. Amuna, faith in Hashem, belief in Hashem, is like an elon, it's like a tree. V'bitachon kemo hapri. And bitachon, trusting in Hashem, that's like the fruit of the tree. Hapri la'ois ala elon, the fruit itself is a sign that there's a tree. Or the grass that is underneath, that is growing, helping for everything to grow, it's a proof that there's something that's growing over here. However, a tree is not necessarily a sign that there's going to be a fruit, because there are plenty of trees in the world that don't have fruits. The kenasavim army is much grass. But you'll never have a fruit without a tree. Says the Ramban, the mashal, the parable of amun and bitachon is that just like a person can only have bitachon if they believe in Hashem, you'll never have a fruit unless it comes from a tree. But you could have a tree without a fruit. So what kind of a person are we going to be in our world of faith? Are we going to be people that stop at the tree? We just build up inside of ourselves. I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I believe that He runs the world. I believe in all of that. But then you're going to take it to the next level, which is going to be bitachon. As a result of the emunah that I have in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I could be baitech, I could rely on Hashem that He is going to take care of everything. There's a difference of believing it here and believing it over here, and then acting upon the belief. The bitachon of a person is, I'm acting on that belief. I could be a Baal bitachon, I could be a person of bitachon in theory, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be a Baal bitachon, a person of trust and reliance in Hashem in practice. And that's only if I take it out to the next level. And therefore, the Ramban continues and he writes, Kol habeitech maimin, anybody that trusts in Hashem, believes in Hashem, lefi she'ein adam beitech ela b'mi she'maimin boi, a person will only trust in the one that he believes in. He believes in the one that he knows could fulfill his requests. However, as we said before, just because you believe doesn't mean you trust. Sometimes you're afraid, maybe you did sins, you're not going to be answered. Maybe Hashem made a lot of miracles for you already, and you already got your reward. So you're not so sure, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu going to answer? My tefillah is going to give me everything I want. And therefore says the Ramban that the two-staged progress of a maimin, of someone that has a faith, is you've got to get to the next level. The next level is I'll act on the emunah that I have. So it's a very interesting thing. When we come to daven, so we come and we're praying to Hashem. So now, if you don't believe in Hashem, you can't daven. Who are you davening to? If you don't believe in that there's a Rebbeinu Shalom, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is listening, and Hashem can do anything, so that when you come to shul or you sit in your house and you pick up a siddur and you daven, so you're talking to. So Amunah means that I have someone that I can daven to, I can ask my request, I believe in Hashem. Bitachon means I trust that when I daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is listening, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu can answer all of my tefillahs. That's a higher level than Amunah. Amunah is the foundation, and the level on top of that is going to be our bitachon. Says the Sefer HaChinuch, you know why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the mitzvah of Shemitah? Because that is applied Amunah in a person's life. It's called bitachon. I believe in Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and the whole world belongs to Him. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a whole system in the universe called derech, called teva, called nature. And the nature is that if you put a seed into the ground and you cover it up with dirt and you water, and the sun comes in the right way, and the wind is not too strong, it doesn't get too cold, everything is going to grow beautifully and perfectly. That's the way that Hashem made the world. And therefore, when I go out to the field, and I'm farmer John, and I plant in the field, and I do all of that, I'm a maimin, I believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's how things are going to work. Says the Torah, let's take it up a notch. And that is, even though that you believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world in a certain way, where there's teva, there's nature, when you put a seed into the ground, everything's going to grow. But do you believe that it can grow supernatural? Do you believe that if you plant in the 6th year, there'll be a bumper crop that will last you 6, 7, and most of the 8th year until you can harvest? Do you believe in that? If a person is willing to surrender their field and say that I'm making it hefker, I'm making it ownerless, I'm not going to go into the field, I'm not going to water the field, I'm not going to plow the field, I'm not going to drop seeds into the field like I normally do, so I'm not using the teva, the nature of this world. But Hashem, I trust in you that if you want to, you can make a miracle over here, and that which I planted in the 6th year is going to multiply out of control. I'll have everything that I need. I have nothing to worry about. That itself is applied amuna, and we call that bitachon. We call that trusting in Hashem. There's a very funny story of a young husband and a wife. And the husband was a very pashut, a very simple fellow, and he was a shoemaker. And he married into a family that was in the diamond business. And his wife said, as they were dating, she says, you don't have to make shoes for the rest of your life. My family, we have diamonds, wholesale, retail, we're making good money. My father said already that you can come into the business, you can become a diamond dealer as well. And the man said, it's okay, I like shoes. Father-in-law sits down with the young man and he says, listen, Johnny, I see that you're a shoemaker. Wonderful. It's a big chesed. Putting shoes on people's feet. They can run to do mitzvahs. They can run to the shul. They can walk and do chesed. Wonderful. He says, shoes, you can only charge so much. And it's a lot of work. There's a lot of labor. In the olden days, they had to cut the leather. They had to put it all together, stitch it together, and size it up for a person. He says, listen, our family, diamond dealers. For one little diamond that you polish and you shine and you sell, it's worth about 100 or 200, if not more, pairs of shoes. Why don't you come into our family business? It'd be so much easier for you. And he said, Dad, thank you very much. I really appreciate the offer. I like shoes. And I'm going to remain a shoemaker. Okay, can't change the guy's mind. So they get married. And the father and his sons and the other son-in-laws, they're in the diamond business. They are raking in the money. And Johnny over here, the shoemaker, simple guy, he goes early in the morning till late at night. He does his work. He makes his shoes, sells a few pairs a day, maybe 10 a week, makes his money, pays the bills. He's very happy. After about 20 years of this going on, father-in-law, brother-in-laws, selling diamonds, making lots of money, Johnny just selling shoes. He one day turns to his wife and he says, dear, it's so good that I never went into the diamond business. She says, why do you say that? He said, because in the last 20 years that I've been making shoes, nobody ever walked into my shop and asked me for a diamond. They're always asking for shoes. So his wife looks at him, she says, you fool. If you sell shoes, people ask for shoes. If you sell diamonds, people come and they ask you for diamonds. In the world of business, in the world of parnasa, in the world of making a living, it is probably the area in our lives that we are most challenged in the world of, do you really have bitachon in Hashem or not? And this is the great strain on people's business when we have something that is called Hishtadlus, making effort, versus bitachon, versus trusting in Hashem. If I trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Hashem can do anything, and Hashem can bring me parnasa, and if I look at the story in the Chumash of Shemitah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the farmer, don't touch your field during the 7th year, and whatever you planted during the 6th year will grow extra, provide 6, 7, and most of the 8th until you start planting and harvest again. So then can't HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in my daily business, take care of all of my needs? And why then do I feel compelled that I have to work so hard to make a dime? And therefore, the greatest struggle that a person has in his business is, how hard do I actually have to work in order to make a living? Why do we have to work? Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to work? We could sit and learn Torah all day long. We could sit and learn Torah all day long. We could say Tehillim. We could do chesed. We could drive old ladies to the doctor. We could take people and pick up groceries for them and bring it to their home. We could go and help all the organizations that we want to. Wouldn't it be nice? Why do we have to work? Why did Hashem, if he loves his nation of Klal Yisrael so much, and he wants us to be fully connected to him in everything that we do, why did he have to make it that the only way to really make money in this world is you got to work? 9 to 5, 9 to 6, 10 to 4, whatever the hours are going to be. Every hour that I'm at work is taking away from davening, from learning, from ruchnias, from chesed, from being a tzaddik. Why? So we know if you want to understand that, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of time. Adam and Chava were born into a place called Gan Eden. It was supposed to be the greatest existence of all time. They would live out their whole lives for eternity in Gan Eden. Everything was served to them on a silver platter. The most delicious and delectable fruits. The atmosphere was perfect. The air never felt better. Water was running and flowing through the rivers. They had everything they need not to lift a finger at all. They sinned. The utopia was destroyed. Adam was exiled from Gan Eden, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, from now on, my dear son, my dear friend, Adam Arishain, you lost the ability not to lift a finger and work, and now by the sweat of your brow, toichal, you will eat. The mitzvah of, or the command, or the obligation that we have to be mishtadl, to work, to make a living, came about as a result of the chait, of the sin of Adam Arishon. Which means, as the Mesilas Yesharim explains, Hishtadlus, making effort to make a living, is not this great endeavor that a person should put in all of their energies into. Be going to work extra and staying later in the office to try to make an extra buck is not something that a person should be very proud of. Because the only reason that we have to go to work and do hishtadlus, make effort and work hard, is because we were cursed in the beginning of mankind, that you will no longer be able to have your livelihood come for free. You're going to have to make an effort. As my Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Aaron Feldman, once said in one of his shmuzim, the first time that he ever spoke in the yeshiva was PARSHAS Breishis, and he said Ner Yisrael is known for a yeshiva that allows, we'll call it allows. It doesn't encourage, it allows college. It's a yeshiva, guys are learning all day long, but people want to have parnasa down the road, so it allows for the boys at night, the ones that want to go to college. Rav Aaron Feldman was coming from 40 years in Eretz Yisrael. In those 40 years, part of the time was in Bnei Brak, living next to the Stipler, Rav Shach, and so on and so forth. And the rest of the time was living in Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh in an atmosphere of complete Kedusha and Torah. And he stands up his first official drasha in Yeshiva's Ner Yisrael, America 101, and he says, I don't understand why the boys in this yeshiva spend so much time in college working and studying to make a living. He said, the advent of parnasa and making a living and working hard is a klala, is a curse that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to the world. Why would you spend so much energy and so much effort on a curse? The mitzvah of Bitachon is supposed to make a person realize that even if I don't work so hard, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can bring the parnasa anyway. Because it's not really up to me, it's really up to Hashem. Rav Dessler has a very long piece. It's called Bitachon veHishtadlus. Trusting in Hashem, relying on Hashem, versus the Hishtadlus, the effort that you need to make. And he quotes over here from Rav Zundel of Salant. Rav Zundel was the Rebbe of Rav Yisrael Salanter. So Rav Yisrael Salanter was the greatest Baal Musar of all time, probably. This is his Rebbe that he learned from. And Rav Zundel said, the only reason that we have to engage ourselves in Hishtadlus and making effort to make a living, because we are no longer worthy of receiving open miracles. If we would be on a level of receiving open miracles, you'd never have to lift a finger. Hashem would send. Hashem would send it in. Everybody knows so many famous stories, but one of them is that Rav Chaim Volozhiner was once talking in the yeshiva, giving a shmooze to the boys about Bitachon. And he said, if we would have real Bitachon in Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu could bring us a gold watch right now. And everybody was like, why is that the example? But that's the example that he gave. The next thing they know, the door to the Beis Midrash opens up, and a Russian soldier walks in, and he looks around, and he walks over to Rav Chaim Volozhiner, and he takes off of his wrist a gold watch, and he says, I'm going out to battle right now. I don't know what's going to happen to me. Please do me a favor. Hold on to this watch. If I don't return, the watch belongs to you. And then he walks out. Said Reb Chaim Volozhiner, like we said, if you boiteach, if you trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you want a gold watch? Hashem will bring a gold watch. Those are nisim galuyim, those are open miracles. However, says Reb Zunda of Salan, we're not on that level. We're not Reb Chaim Volozhiners. We're not Adam Arishons. We don't live on such a level. So al keinanu mechuyavim la'asais ba'oven hashpa hayeredes aleinu ye'efshar lid la'isa be'ezeh siba. Therefore, we have an obligation to put in our Hishtadlus, to put in our effort, to put in our work, as long as it's possible to say that maybe the reason I was successful in this endeavor was because of me, was because of the deal that was made, was because of the way that everything ran in that business meeting. I charmed them, they liked me, so on and so forth. Because in the world of Hishtadlus, of effort, HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes concealed, and then I am obligated to work hard in my emunah and my bitachon to reveal HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the efforts that I'm making. And therefore he writes, so he says, you have to do a little Hishtadlus, but enough, only enough, where you could blame everything on nature itself and forget that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that is running the show. That's the challenge of Hishtadlus. The challenge of how much do you believe in Hashem? I believe, I trust in Hashem. How much do you really trust in Him? Do you trust in that everything that is happening in your business coming from Hashem? Well, it just so happened to be that I went to do this business deal, and the person over there was wearing the same exact tie as me. And so he liked my tie, I liked his tie, we liked each other, the deal went through. Look at that, how it worked out. Says Rav Zunda of Salan, if you think like that, so then you have to recognize that your avodah, your work is going to be, you got to be able to peel away those layers to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he says about himself, Ani kaidish tar hagorala. The only hishtadlus I have to do is buy a lottery ticket. And if I would do that, I fulfill my obligation of effort. Why? If I'll win the lottery, it's possible that I could say, that's the way that it works. You buy a lottery ticket, you end up winning the lottery ticket. Do I see HaKadosh Baruch Hu? I didn't see Hashem. The goal in Amunah, Bitachon, and Hishtadlus is, I'll do the Hishtadlus. I could fool myself into thinking I'm making the effort, I'm doing the work. My job then is that in the Hishtadlus that I do, I must work to be able to see that it's really all HaKadosh Baruch Hu that is the one that is sending everything. That means the more Hishtadlus that a person does, the more effort that they make to make a living, the more difficult it's going to be to find Hashem. The less work that I do, the less effort that I make, and the money comes in, it's easier in that case to be able to find Hashem. And these are really the words of the Beis Halevi in his beautiful sefer that he writes on Bitachon. And he says, He says you need to understand this as well. If a person will decrease the amount of time that he works, rather strengthen his bitachon, his trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then he should know that he'll have to exert himself even less. HaKadosh Baruch will bring him what he needs in a much easier, simplified trade or way in order for the money to come in how much he needs. So that's again, the less that I do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, oh, I see you trust in me. If you trust in me, that means you don't have to work so hard. If you don't have to work so hard, that means you're trusting in me that I'll give you the money. So without the 9-to-5 job, without the 9-to-6 job, without the 8-to-7 job, or however many hours a person is working these days, somebody once asked me many years ago, I remember I learned this piece of Rav Dessler with him. So he was in a business that dealt with the internet. And he said that in his particular business, so some of the biggest hours of commerce and production is like 2 to 5 o'clock in the morning. So he wanted to know, he said, I work all day, but it's heavy traffic during 2 to 5. Do I need to work all day and then also go back on the computer from 2 to 5 in the morning? So what do? Bitachon, trust in Hashem, Hishtadlus, effort. Is that what everybody's doing in that business? Is everybody? No, not everybody's doing that. So you have two choices. Either you stop working during the day and you work from 2 to 5, because that's the ikr time that everyone's working, or you tell yourself, I put in my time. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like the Gemara tells us, already decreed for a person how much money they're going to receive from Rosh Hashanah. Your whole salary was already determined from Rosh Hashanah. How much money you're going to get, how many flat tires you'll receive that will take away the money, how many phones you're going to drop into the water and have to buy yourself a new phone, how much the inflation is going to go up and you're still not going to be making enough. All of that was determined on Rosh Hashanah. So whether I put in 5 more hours a week or 5 less hours a week, HaKadosh Baruch Hu determine what I'm going to make. So do I need to do extra? Says the Beis HaLevi. If you show me, says Hashem, that you're nismayid, you can do less, I see how much you trust in me, I'll take care of the rest. But the more that a person spends hours in the office, the more that a person is busy working and making efforts and deals and plans and all the different things that he does, and he makes his hishtadlus, the efforts, becomes the main part of his work. Says Hashem, then I will not bring you your parnasa, your livelihood, until you work very hard. You decide. It's up to you. You want to be a mindman that is boteach ba'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You trust in Hashem. Hashem will bring me every penny that I need, even if I do less. If that's where you're holding in bitachon, then do less, because then with less work, Hashem's going to bring you everything. If you're not holding in that place, and you think that you need a lot of hishtadlus, you need to make a lot of effort, you have to put in a lot of hours, you have to get double time and overtime in order to make all the money, then says Hashem, go for it. But you should know, the money is only going to come if you're actually then putting in all the work that you think that you have to do. Okay, like I say, just teach us. Hashem says, the way that you are towards me, that's the way that I'm going to be towards you. If you work a little bit, I'll load you up with the bracha, parnasa. If you work a lot, I won't give you the money until you keep working a lot. What do you want? How kind of person do you want to be? Says the Torah in this week's Parsha, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a mitzvah called Shemitah, an amazing mitzvah. It makes no sense. It's probably one of the ways that the Torah was written by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because no other foolish man in the world would make up such a mitzvah and think that people would buy into it. Hashem says, Eretz Yisrael, holy land. Just like during the week, you have to rest on the seventh day. Your body can't keep running and running and running and running. You have to rest. The land of Eretz Yisrael has to rest also. In the seventh year, it's going to lay fallow. What are you going to do? Nothing. Can I see the land? No. Can I water land? No. Can I do this? No. Nothing. Leave it alone. Don't touch. But Hashem, how's it going to work? Don't worry. It says in the Torah. In the sixth year, when you plant, lo and behold, you'll have a bumper crop. It will last you 6th year and 7th year. And in the 7th year, you can't plant, so there's nothing waiting for you in the 8th year. Until everything will grow in the 8th year, there'll be enough from the 6th year crop, you'll be able to survive and provide for yourself. You believe in me, says Hashem? Do you trust in me? Even if you don't trust in me, you have to trust in me. The mitzvah of Shemitah obligates a Jewish farmer to trust in Hashem. And by going through the motions and doing the mitzvah and staying away from the land and not planting and sitting in the basement all year long and learning, guess what you get to see? Hashem Taka, he fulfilled his word. He takes care of everything. So then I learned, with less work, more profits. More work, same thing, maybe even less. And therefore I transfer that into my daily living. And I begin to realize that in everything that I'm going to do in the world of Parnasa, remember, like the Mesilas Yesharim says, the only reason that you're working and making effort is because it's the curse of Adam HaRishon. Why would you spend so much time on a curse? You wouldn't. You want to spend time on those things which are brachas. Mitzvahs are brachas. Learning Torah is brachas. Becoming a better person is a bracha. Work, it's a work. Avodah, the same language that we use for avdus, for slavery, to be subservient, is the work of avodah, is the word that we use for work. Don't be a slave to your work. Don't be a slave to your Hishtadlus. Rather, you humble yourself before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You recognize that Hashem is doing everything. It's all coming from Hashem. And the way that you act towards Him, that is the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to act towards you. You do less, it's all going to come. You do more, you have to keep working and working to make the minimum that you are trying to procure. So Amunah is the starting point. Bitachon is afterwards. You can have Amunah and not Bitachon, and the goal of a Jew is to advance from the world of Amunah, of belief in Hashem, to get to a world where I trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I rely upon Hashem, I honestly believe and I rely with all of my heart that Hashem is going to take care of me. I remember once the Rosh Hashiva Feldman said, he was talking about the idea of Bitachon, and he said that if a person really had Bitachon in Hashem, he said, then they wouldn't make these bank accounts that we make, the wedding account, the college account, the vacation account. We wouldn't have those accounts because we would trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu that when I need money for a chasana, the money will be there. When I need money to pay for school, the money will be there. When I want to go on vacation, the money will be there. What do I have to worry about? So I remember one of the guys in the color raised his hand, and he was older than a lot of us, and he was already beginning to marry off his children. He said, but Rosh Hashiva, he says, with children, the weddings cost so much money. He says, how can you not have an account to be able to just make sure that you have a little bit of a cushion over there in the bank? How do you not have an account? So there's like a long pause, and he looked at the fellow. He saw he was very sincere, and he says, if you feel that you need to have an account for your children's weddings, you can have an account. It's okay. But if you have real bitachon, then you won't have to have an account for such things. Okay, those are madrigas, those are levels that we're not on. We have accounts that are just the grocery account. We have the gas bill account. We have every account for everything. We have in our Zelle accounts, we have this one is for the gas, and this one is for the power, and this one is for electricity. Fine. but at least trust that when you go to work, that the reason you're making money is because HaKadosh Baruch has decreed that He's going to give you the money for the job that you do. Now, the Chovos Levavos, which has a Shar Bitachon, which has a whole gate in the book that is for Bitachon, most of it revolves around Hishtadlus. It revolves around around work and the efforts you have to make in work. And he says over there, the Klal Gadol, the main principle is, and that is that whatever is considered to be normal in that particular field of business that you're in, whatever effort is normally made in that business, that is considered all of the Hishtadlus that you have to do. No more and no less. So if in your business it's a 9 to 5 job, okay, that's what you have to do. That's normal. If it's 9 to 4, then don't work 9 to 5. Now, Rav Dessler takes it another level and he says, but you could test your levels of bitachon. And therefore he writes, if you have a job that the average person works from 9 to 5, and that's how the Hishtadlus, that's how the effort goes. You work 9 to 5, you get the paycheck at the end of the week, you make the money. He says, why don't you try this? From now on, start leaving work half an hour earlier. It works if you're your own boss. It works a little bit better like that. Not every boss can be happy if you start leaving early. So let's say if you're your own boss, you could do it like this. 9 to 5, I'm going to start leaving at 4:30 every day. And then test the bank and see, are you still making the same amount of money every single week, every single month? If the answer is yes, next month, 9 to 4. And when 9 to 4, you're making the same money, take it down to 9 to 3:30. Until the next thing you know, you're going to sit in the base midrash all day long and you'll be learning. You're never going to go to work again. Because you realize no matter how little you do, HaKadosh Baruch is still going to bring the money. I want to end off with a story. I just heard this nice, amazing story. There was a shul, I don't know exactly where it was, somewhere I think on the East Coast. It was like in a well-to-do neighborhood, wealthy balabatim. And the shul was getting older and they decided, we're going to make a renovation campaign and they're going to redo the whole shul. Wow, amazing. And they raised from the balabatim hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're going to do a whole makeover on the shul. New insides, new benches, new seats, new chairs, new tables, on Kodesh, everything beautiful. So one of the people that was in charge of the renovation campaign and the team, he said, you know what? Once we're like redoing the Aron Kodesh and everything, we might as well get the Sifrei Torah checked to make sure that they're kosher as well. If they have such a nice shul, we should make sure that we have kosher Sifrei Torah. They said, great idea. So they called up a sofer, and the sofer comes down, and he takes out, there's 3 Sifrei Torah in the shul. One of those shuls is only 3 Sifrei Torah. He takes out all of the Sifrei Torah, and he goes through all of them, and he comes back to the board and he says, I'm sorry to tell you, every single one of your Sifrei Torah are puzzled, they're no good. There are lots of problems in every one, and it compromises the kashrus of each and every one of them. They're no good. He said, they need to be fixed. So they said, okay, Rabbi, how much will it cost to fix each one? He said, I'm estimating, seeing all the mistakes and everything that is there and how much work has to be done, it's going to cost approximately $6,000 for each one of the Sifrei Torah to get fixed. That's $18,000 altogether. Now, I can tell you from fixing Sifrei Torah, it's not so bad. It's really not so bad. Now, this is a shul that just raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to renovate the entire shul. And they said, are you kidding us? $6,000 each? Are you kidding? No way that we're spending that much money to fix up these Sifrei Torah. We'll give you $1,000 apiece. He said, it's not $1,000 job. I don't think you realize what I'm talking about over here. It's months of labor. I have to take them all off the atzei chaim, off the wood. We have to go through the entire thing. We have to fix it here. We have to fix it over there. It's hours and hours painstaking labor. It's $6,000 each. So they said, $1,000, or we're not doing anything. So the server said, I'm not obligated to fix a Sefer Torah for $1,000. My times for is 6,000. He said, okay, fine. So you know what? He takes the Sefer Torah, rolls him back up, puts him in the Aron Kodesh, and he says, have a nice day, and hatzlacha with your puzzle Sefer Torah. About 2 weeks later, the Gabbai of the shul calls this Sefer. And he says, how could you do that? And the Sefer says, how could I do what? How could you leave us 3 puzzle Sefer Torah, 3 Torahs that are no good? You should know that you didn't fix them. And so every single Monday, Thursday, and Shabbos, they're using Sefer Torah in our shul that are not kosher. And it's your fault. I said, my fault? I told them the price is $6,000. The chutzpah, they want to pay me $1,000 after spending $100,000 to renovate your shul. He says, Rabbi, you're the one who knows that they're puzzle. You're the one that can fix them. You take 1,000 or you take nothing. And it's your fault that we're making brachas and laning from Sefer Torah that are puzzle. And the guy hangs up the phone. And the Sabbath says, chutzpah. What a chutzpah. These people they're so cheap. They spend so much money on the floor and they on the walls and on the lighting. They can't, for the kedusha of a Sefer Torah, they can't. I should feel bad. I don't feel bad. Then he started feeling bad. And he calls up one of his friends who's a sofer. And he tells him the story. And he says, so there's this shul, and they have 3 Sefer Torah, no good. And they're using them, brachas, Monday, Thursday, Shabbos, leaning out of them. It's bracha levatala. It's a wasted blessing. They shouldn't be doing it. What do you think I should do? So the other sofer says, you know what? I'll make you a deal. He says, how could we let Yidden be leaning from Apostle Sefer Torah? Let's go. He says, let's take them, and together you and I will work on them for this minimal price, 1,000, that's all they're willing to pay. We'll work, we'll kasher them up, and we'll give them back. We'll do a mitzvah. We'll save Yidden from doing an aver, from sinning by reading from a Sefer Torah that's no good. They're being cheap, whatever it is, that's their problem. We get the mitzvah of fixing up these Sefer Torah and giving them the mitzvah of kosher Sefer Torah. Fine. They go back to the shul. They take the Sefer Torah, and they work for like a month and a half, 2 months. They go through all 3, the 2 of them, and now they return them, put them back into the Aron Kodesh. They get their $3,000. Really should have been 18,000. They don't complain. Thank you very much. And they head back on their way home. Now, the shul where they were was like a little bit in the boondocks, outskirts, like Tarzan or something like that. And so they had a long drive to get back to where they had to go. As they're going on the way, on the drive back, they had to use the restroom, the facilities. So they're looking around and they're trying to find a place where they can go, and they get off the turnpike or wherever they were. And as they're driving down the road, they see a non-Jewish cemetery. And it's like the only building anywhere in any distance that they can see. So you know what? We'll drive in here. Probably there's a bathroom. We'll ask permission to use the bathroom. What's the big deal? So they drive in, non-Jewish cemetery. They pull up their car to the main office. And as they're getting out of the car, a policeman stops and says, what are you doing here? They said, oh, we're so sorry. We just need to use the restroom. He says, license? License? Your license? You have your license? He said, yeah, of course we have a license. Can I see it? I said, please, we're going to the, what does he want our license for? He says, can I see your license? Okay. They both pull out their licenses. The policeman takes it and he writes down their information on a pad. Here you go. Bathroom is over there. They go to the restroom. They get back in the car. That was strange. And they head off and they go back home. About a week later, they get a call from a lawyer's office. And the lawyer says, we're reading the will of so-and-so today tomorrow in the court. And you've been asked to be there for the reading of the will. And they said, reading of the will? For what's the name? And the guy's name was like John Anderson. John Anderson? What? the lawyer says, and trust me, it's worth your while to come and be there for the reading of the will. Okay? So these two Sofrim, they go out to the courthouse and they're there, and the judge begins reading the will. And he says the deceased, John Anderson, he died without any wife, without any children, without any relatives to his name. And he left in his last will and testament, whoever attended his funeral, he's leaving them $100,000. The two Soifim, these two rabbis, look at each other and they realize that funeral that they stopped at, in case I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I forgot to mention that part. When they stopped at the cemetery, there was a funeral that was taking place. And that's when the policeman asked them for their license. So anybody that was there at that funeral, they get $100,000. So they said to themselves, can you believe it? We did a mitzvah. We took care of these Sifrei Torah. We ended up kashing them up for $1,000 each, when it was really $6,000 worth of work. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he paid us. He gave us $100,000 each, just because we stopped at the right place at the right time on the way home. If you're Beiteich B'Hashem, you trust in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you believe in Hashem, you know that you do your work, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of everything else, then even with a minimal amount of effort, Hashem will send you all the parnasa, all the livelihood, all the money that you need to cover all your bills. So we should learn from this great mitzvah of Bitachon, of Shemitah, like it says in the Sefer HaChinuch. It's here to teach us how to be Beiteich B'Hashem. Anyone, ha-Beiteich B'Hashem, Chesed Yosei V'Avenu, Dovid HaMelech says, if you trust in Hashem, Chesed will surround you. Who's Chesed? The Chesed of Hashem. If you trust in Hashem, His Chesed, His kindness is going to surround you. He will take care of all of your needs. Have a wonderful night, everyone.